Alright, in this video I want to talk real quick about Zoroastrianism. Not sure if I spelled that right, but the people who practice it don't actually call it that anyway. They call it something with a D. I can't remember exactly what it was called. But everybody else knows it as this. And I was looking into it the other day, and there's not a whole lot of foundation for it because there's not a lot of writings for it or anything like that. It's mainly passed down orally, so you can take that for what you will, right? But they're claiming to be the oldest religion, and they are the ones that inspired Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, right? And it's a story of this guy who saw how the world was and how it was just warlike. During his time, the people were just drunken soldiers going around raping and pillaging, and everybody was in fear, and the religious groups would just do pointless rituals. So he wanted to do something about that. If you looked into it, it seems like an interesting story and everything. But the main crux to show that this is a false religion, and it's basically not the foundation of Judaism and Christianity, is how it determines salvation. Because they have a belief that is similar, where when you die, your soul leaves your body and you are judged. And they showed a depiction of 3 people being the judges, and then there's you, right? And they judge you. You come before them, and it's about whether or not your good outweighs your bad. Just like every other religion, right? So if you got more good than bad, you go to heaven. But if you got more bad than good, well, you don't, right? And that's just like every other religion outside of Judaism and Christianity, right? Because even with Judaism, where they have what appears to be a works-based salvation, they're not actually truly saved by their works, because they still offer up sacrifice because they're not perfect, right? They still need something to atone for them. And this system right here that we're talking about here has no justice. And people don't seem to think about this. Because you have you right here, right? And let's say you were a druggie and a thief in your teens and early adulthood, but then you changed and you started doing some good deeds and started to give back and helping out the poor and needy and helping people get off drugs, right? So you're doing good works. But are you doing those good works just because you have a guilty conscience? Are you doing it because you don't want to go to hell? Because you should be doing those good works even if you didn't live that kind of lifestyle. You should still want to help out the people who are dealing with drug issues and getting into crime, that you would want to help them. But the only reason why you're trying to help them is to make up for your life. That doesn't make you a good person, right? Not to mention, you doing good, which is something you ought to be doing in the first place, doesn't make up for the bad you've done, right? It doesn't make up for it at all. You doing good does not heal the damage the drugs did to you and to your relationships, right? You trying to pay back what you stole, sometimes you taking something that's priceless that can't be replaced. Sometimes you can't actually fix the trust, right? There's no justice. There has to be a payment made. And this religion does not have that. Right? And in reality, let's shrink this down a little bit. In reality, we have you, and there's two options. Right? You can believe. Oh, well, let's put true believer. And then we got false believers / converts, who are either been deceived or deceiving themselves into thinking they're believers, right? And these are just classified as basically unbelievers, right? And if, depending on which side you're on, here you are saved, no matter what. Here you are lost, no matter what, right? So you can cling to that, but your works are still judged. We'll just write that in there, because it's similar to this, right? But your works do not determine whether you're saved or lost. That's where it's completely different. This is just like every other heathen pagan religion. Your works determine whether or not you're saved or not. That's not the case. If you are a believer, your works determine your eternal reward with God. And if you are lost, your works determine your eternal punishment. Right? So you're an unbeliever, but you weren't really the most demonic person ever. Your eternal punishment is not as bad as, let's say, Lucifer himself, who caused all this in the first place, right? And if you're a believer and you don't dedicate your life to Jesus, well, you're not going to get anything when you go to heaven. Yeah, you get to live forever in paradise, but you have no inheritance. But if you dedicate your life to Jesus, you can end up receiving what John calls a full reward. Right? So I just wanted to make this video to talk about this, because, sometimes there's people who may get caught up in this because they see something new and interesting and like, oh, this is older, this is the true religion. Or there's a lot of people think like Buddhism and some of its stories actually predate Christianity, when a lot of their stories from Buddha actually incorporate Christian beliefs after Christianity. Right? So those are some things you can look and do for yourself. But they like to act as though they predate these religions and that they inspired them, when that's not the case. Not the case at all. Right? You also have to understand that Satan in heaven knew God's plans for the most part, right? He knew what was told to Adam in the garden, right? He knew the prophecies about the seeds, right? And he knew about everything that was being said from then all the way until Moses, right? So he knows that. He also knows the gospel and the stars, right? He knows all that, and he twists it and perverts it, right? Not to mention he has gone out of his way to destroy writings and civilizations that contradict his claim about his people and his religions predating everything, right? So he just destroys it all. So you need to take those kind of things into consideration, right? The victors in war, they write the history, right? You see, when it's like Christianity conquers, we see something like what happens in Acts, where the people willingly burn their pagan books, right? because they realize they're trash. No one's forcing them to do anything. They're doing it willingly. But when the enemy wins, he forcefully confiscates all of the writings and books and parchments and everything and forcefully burns them against everybody's will. They're both doing the same thing, but one is willingly, one is against the people's will. Right? Satan's always got a counterfeit. So, with all that being said, thank you for your time and attention. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.